Welcome in, everyone. My name is Gracey with Northern Astrology, and I am so excited to be here tonight to start the launch of my new series, an astrological profile featuring the Real Housewives of Bravo TV. You have watched them for years, sometimes decades, and we are going on kind of an astrological journey through the sun signs, and we will have a different housewife featured each month. So naturally, for Sagittarius season, we had to go with the OG queen. I mean, if you don't know Sonja Morgan, then, you might not be an OG Housewives fan, but you will absolutely fall in love with her through her astrology as well as through her personality. And if you're new to astrology, but you're here tonight because you wanted to learn more about one of your favorite reality TV stars, welcome in. I'm going to be showcasing the ladies of Bravo, and I look forward to getting to know each and every one. And, there's so many housewives, there's so many Bravo celebrities. And as someone who grew up watching these women on TV with my own mother, it's been absolutely amazing to follow them throughout the years. And I think that's something that, a lot of people can learn in the show business is that fun and having fun does not have an age limit, and women getting together and having a great time. And also sometimes chaotic times. We can all admit that there's been the drama over the years through the Housewife franchises. So as much as we love the regalness of the housewives, we also love the pettiness of them. And we're going to take a magical look at each and every housewife. So starting with the one and only Sonja Morgan, we are going to pull up her Sangria. I am super excited. There we go. My ring light should be giving a nice little there. You can see the label, and I'm super excited to try the red flavor. I've had the white one over the weekend, and it is delicious. So, if you are enjoying a drink tonight, it is Thanksgiving Eve here in the States. Not sure where you are joining us from, and by us, I mean myself and my Gemini Moon. But I'm super glad that you're here. And I have a lot to talk about tonight. Going into anyone's personal astrology is a very intimate journey, and having somebody look at your birth chart is something that can be very unnerving, and it's a very, I'm going to say this without my speech impediment getting in the way of it, vulnerable experience, sharing layers of yourself with an astrologer. Astrologers can see a lot when we look at your birth chart. And with that, it is our ethical responsibility to share the magic, to understand the pain that comes with it, and to empathize with the person's journey, and also reiterate how much free will takes a huge part in your own life. As much as the stars dictate a lot of things in our lives and can set the tone for how we behave and how we show up in this world, there is always free will. And so being independent, yet knowing what's going on in the cosmos and knowing what you're made out of, right? Like knowing what you have in your heart and knowing what drives your soul, and having like kind of like a compass is what I look at astrology as, is a personal compass of sorts where you can really navigate the waters as much or as little as you want. You can find out your big three, which is a great place to start. And then from your big three, you can be like, okay, I also have a Venus and Mars. And you can find out how those implement different types of behaviors or patterns or kind of like loops in your life, or you might see signature events. Part of what I do is using the Sabian symbols, which I love showing this book, so don't you worry. I am showing my vintage copy of this 360 Degrees of Wisdom. It is not necessarily the most recent copy. In fact, Linda Hill just sent out an email today talking about how she is now shipping copies of her book, 360 Degrees of Wisdom, which cover all the Sabian symbols. And if you're wondering what a Sabian symbol is, there is a symbol and a visual representation for every degree of the zodiac. So like you might think that you've gone on an intricate discovery of your astrology chart or astrology chart of your business or a relationship, But just wait. When you get into degrees and pick things apart by the minute, second, and hour of everything, and that was not in the right order, but you guys understand. The Sapien symbols can be an absolute masterful tool for those looking to understand themselves a little bit more. I like to tell people with water Mercuries or heavy water placements that sometimes they need the visual. You know, it's okay to admit that you are a visual learner and you need to see things out in front of you. So with this book, like you can look up, like the degree that I showed you guys was Leo 6 degrees, and that is represented in the Sapien symbols by an old-fashioned conservative woman being confronted by an up-to-date girl. So a lot of these symbols can be lengthy. They can be as short as Virgo 7 degrees, which is a harem. They are channeled by Elsie Wheeler, and it was from the 1920s. So some of them are out of date with the way that they say things, like servant or maid or things like that, how we would not call people that work for us servants or maids in this day and age. So part of that is really cool to see the kind of ancientness, kind of how far we've come in the last 100 years with terminology and channeling. But Elsie Wheeler was an incredible woman that had a lot of physical deformities and disabilities that caused her, like arthritis caused her limbs to be unable for her to walk unassisted, and there were things that she needed kind of like permanent care around the clock. And so she had helpers, and she also had the help of Mark Edmund Jones to channel these Sapien symbols. But it was done in Balboa Park in San Francisco, but there's no actual date. So if anyone is watching this and knows when the Sapien symbols were channeled by some obscure random reason that you have withheld this from the astrology community, it would be amazing to know that. But if not, we will eventually get to find out more of Elsie's story. I feel like the more that I dive into the Sapien symbols, the more that comes out. So if you are just now joining, I am going to be sharing a video of some of what I would say Sonja Morgan's biggest, like, well-known moments are through the Bravo sphere. These are from some of the later seasons because I think these moments really and truly encapsulated Sonja's energy so well, because she is an eccentric, mutable queen. When I say mutable, I don't mean that you can like mute her, because that's like literally the opposite of mutable signs. If you try to mute a mutable sign, there will be hell to pay. And once we get to her chart, you can kind of see that for yourself. So let's go ahead and talk about who this woman is. Please excuse the fact that her rear end is over there. Okay, my bad. So we're gonna start by watching this scene from the Real Housewives of New York, and these are Sonja Morgan's most outrageous, wackiest moments, Real Housewives of New York City, on the YouTube verse. So if you're looking up this and you want to watch this on your own, feel free to. I'm gonna play this video and then pull up a chart of the woman that Sonja Morgan is dressed as.
Sonja, I don't know. Oh! I just realized I forgot to put the petticoat. Jeez, I'm missing half my costume. There's a thing that goes with this. Is the protection. Can someone get my driver?
I said her ass was hanging out.
I left half my costume home.
All right, so looking at this, I want to pull up the Queen's chart herself. Sonja Morgan's chart, born November 25th, 1963, 4:43 p.m., Albany, New York. I know the Astro databanks have her born around like 5 p.m. or something like that, but because I am so degree specific, and also because I'm a Gemini Moon and I'm super nosy, I reached out to Sonja Morgan via Cameo to book a birthday reading for one of my dear friends. And I immediately was like, also, we are both astrologers and we love your chart and we think you're amazing. And she's like, wait, you have my chart? There's a data bank of like birth times and chart information? I was like, yeah. And it says this time. She's like, no, here's the right time. So I was like, oh my God, I felt like I had won the lottery, because it's like once you get the exact time for your birth chart, it really does make a difference. Knowing the time of day can help. And if you really want the in-depth knowledge that most astrologers offer, the best thing to do is to provide the birth time as accurately as possible. Even if it's like your mom tells you 10:30, it could be like 10:28 on your birth certificate. So I do know that having the time of your birth is a privilege. I went through that this year, actually, not knowing I had rectified my birth time, which is something that you can do with practice and with understanding technique. And I was only an hour off. I had the minute exactly, but I was an hour off. So it really wasn't that big of a difference in my chart, but it can make a huge difference when you are working with your astrology and your transits. So we get to Sonja Morgan's chart here, and she is a Gemini rising at that 9 degrees of Gemini, which is directly squaring her Uranus on the MC, or on her IC, and it's opposing her MC. And it is also directly opposite her Vesta. And since she is a Sagittarius sun below her descendant, that is, 4:43 p.m. technically is night chart. So she is below the horizon there. One moment. We are back. It wouldn't be Mercury retrograde if you didn't have a random TV go off and just start playing Christmas music, right? So back to where we were. We were talking about her Sagittarius sun. And so that's technically, that is technically opposing her rising, even though it's not exactly. It's within a 7-degree orb. So we are going to look at a lot of her astrology along the way. But I just wanted to point out just her energy in general, all of that Sagittarius and having her ass out. Like, if that's not the most Sagittarius thing in the world, I don't know what is. I love Sagittarius. I think the Sagittarii, whatever you want to call them, I think they're incredible. They are forces of nature. They are forces of wisdom and fun and magic all in one. And so if you are lucky enough to have a Sagittarius in your life and you are not a Virgo, then I feel like they are lifelong friends. And I know that the Sagittarius placements in my life have been absolutely amazing and have really brought me a lot of joy and a lot of opportunity. I feel like one thing with Sagittarius placements is they always want other people to win. And that's what I've noticed about Sonja over the years, is just that Sonja Morgan is known for having this like larger than life personality and having this larger than life kind of charismatic and charitable energy. And a lot of people can see that as maybe like social climbing or fake or whatever, but mutable energy can get a bad rap for that. Gemini, especially having a Gemini rising, you are two different people to the world. And my mother is a Gemini rising with Sagittarius placements right around Miss Morgan. So it's just like you look at the energy of this chart and you start to kind of see where the artistic creativity, the sexual prowessness, if nothing, let's just look a little bit more at this videotape real quick, because I know that you guys kind of got interrupted with my Christmas TV. That was a little bit over the top, but I know that like with seeing these clips, you guys can definitely relate a little bit more to her energy and her character if you're not familiar. So with that being said, sorry, I was going to pull up the Marie Antoinette chart. With Sonja dressed as, Sonja, I have a best friend that was named Sonja when I was a kid. So I know that I like going to keep switching back. Also, once again, my pronunciation of things, I do try. I also have a speech impediment, so I'm doing my best here. Sonja Morgan, there we go. is just a powerhouse of all sorts of energy, but her being dressed as Marie Antoinette was super exciting because I'm like, okay, I know that they have to have some things in common. So Marie Antoinette was a Cancer rising. Yes, we can go back in time and find these things, but what's really fun is that they're in the second house, which is kind of where you can find what I would say like style and fashion, because Taurus is ruled by Venus and Venus rules that second house. So when you look at that moon ruled second house, really Sonja can be like dressing for her moods because, you know, her Pisces moon is such a artist and like a rambling artist, and it's like such a fun, lively energy. And I like to see that Marie Antoinette's Mars and Ascendant are right there in her second house. So I feel like Marie Antoinette would love this homage to her. So had to bring that up. I can compare people's charts all day long. I can pull it back to the 1500s if needed. I've done it before. So it's always fun to just like randomly see those tidbits. Let's dive a little bit more into the Queen herself's energy.
I'm not eating it.
All I have to do is walk 2 blocks from my house. I get on the jitney.
Anything to say?
It's so relaxing to get on the bus, not have to drive.
Okay.
One of my girlfriends met her husband on the jitney, by the way. It's a high-class way to travel.
I need to learn how to unmute myself very quickly instead of scrambling around like that. Live shows, baby. You gotta love it. Show business. Speaking of show business, look at this woman's chart. Oh my gosh. So I really like to see in birth charts like where things are aspecting, how many planets or placements are on the angles. The angles, if you are not familiar, are the ascendant, descendant, MC, and IC. The MC is the little arrow up there at the very top of the chart, and it's also known as the midhaven. And then you have the IC, which is known as the roots of the chart, and it's down there where those planets are by the Virgo glyph. If you're familiar with any of that, if that's going over your head, I do have free Astrology 101 books available on my website, northernastrology.com. It's a great place to start. I am rebranding and redoing everything. When I mean everything, I mean everything. So definitely grab an Astrology 101 book. If there's more things that you've ever wanted to see in that Astrology 101 book, I would love feedback on that. Feel free to shoot me an email. There's a contact form. If there's things that you want to see from me or want me to cover that I haven't covered already, trust me, there's a lot of things coming thanks to my new creative director and kind of like an artist manager slash support system for artists, because as an astrologer and as a woman of many hats, I find myself not managing my creative talents as well as I could. So finding somebody that really speaks artist is important. And I bring that up because with this chart, you can see a lot of power in the sixth house. The sixth house is intercepted actually starting with Libra. So when you see an intercepted house, you see 2 signs on the outside and 1 sign sandwiched in the middle. It's the easiest way to describe it. And part of this is, you know, your daily routine. The sixth house is all about structure, routine, discipline, physical body, physical health, wellness. It's also service. And this can be like personal crisis issues. And with Scorpio intercepted in this sixth house, Scorpio does rule naturally, not rule, excuse me. Scorpio has a home in the 8th house when you are looking at the houses and their little companions of the zodiac. I'm trying to keep this as Astrology 101 friendly, yet not being degrading to the astrology process itself. And, you know, it's a fun, thin line. So I'm translating 2 different languages right now into one. When you see the 6th house, it can be a lot of like failure to have discipline or failure to launch due to entanglements. And with so much Scorpio and Scorpio's home being the 8th house of other people's property, inheritance, and joint matters, real estate, things like that, seeing so much Scorpio in the 6th house is definitely something where sexual partners and people that are highly competitive with you could be found here, and they could like transform your daily life. And people that you might connect with once or twice, they could be very transformative in your life. They could also be somebody that just pops in. Seeing that the vertex there is in Scorpio at 4 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up just because that is, if we look at transits, I can show you guys some more, but let's pull that up in the Sapien symbols. 4 degrees Scorpio is represented by a youth holding a lighted candle in a devotional ritual, gains a sense of the great other world. So that is going to be known as what is the karmic degree of this placement. So what you're born into this world with is a thirst for occult knowledge-ish. You know, that could definitely be something that where you see Sonja connecting very easily to psychics and astrologers and healers of all sorts, and really seeking outside of the box healing modalities, with Neptune also in Scorpio there, with Ceres and Juno and Pallas. Speaking of Pallas, I just want to give a quick shout out here. Let me get my hair out of the way. If you haven't seen already, my Pallas earrings from Shadonis. If you don't follow Shadonis on Twitter or follow Shadonis shop, you're going to be missing out on all this cool astrology themed jewelry, including my ring is also from Shadonis shop. So I absolutely love astrocartography, and yeah, that woman is incredible with astrocartography. If you have been looking to kind of find your place all over the planet, astrocartography is a great way to go about that. And she is absolutely the queen. I send as many people over to her as humanly possible to be like, hey, go to the best. So also talented jeweler. Like, that's incredible. So I love supporting incredible astrologers and people that really are daring to be creative in this day and age. So always fun. Going into the truth degree of Sonja Morgan's vertex, we're going into a massive unchanging rocky shore, resist the pounding of the sea. So the truth degree of this is like, this woman is resilient. This woman can resist any sort of transformation. You know, when you see this degree, it's a degree ruled by Leo. It's something that, you know, you really see fortitude and strength of the heart as well as the physical body, since it's in the 6th house. And the truth of this is, there might not be the beautiful, amazing, cushy world that you thought existed when you were young. And you might withstand a lot of storms, and you might physically go through a lot of battles. And there's a sense of not having protection from these storms, not having like physical protection. So Scorpio kind of rules over the root chakra area, and having that sense of security is really important for your root chakra. So I think it's so important to understand your vertex placement, because it really is like spiritual gifts and people in the form of like gifts in the form of people. And I always say that like vertex points are where you can find the love of your life if your vertex happens to be in the same sun sign. So Scorpio men can also do a lot to when you have a 6th house intercepted Scorpio energy there. So the Pallas, vertex, Juno, Neptune, Ceres, little cluster all in Scorpio means, you know, sexual energy is very transformative to, you know, the whole situation of healing. And when you try to incorporate your magic and find your inner magic, it's super, super important to really like find that root place. And if it's with, you know, you find yourself transforming and finding your spirituality through your physical body or through physical experiences that help you transform and shape your root chakra, that could be, like I said, through sexual energy. It could be through meditation and sound baths and, you know, doing the work, as they say, shadow work especially. So then we're going to go into the solution, or what Linda Hill calls the quest degree of this placement. So we're once again at the Scorpio vertex. This is represented by a gold rush tears people away from their native soil. So there's a lot of gold rushes throughout history, right? That's what Linda Hill points out. And people often gamble their resources and everything they have, including their sense of security, to chase possible rewards. So this could also indicate at an early age going out and going forth and conquering the world on your own. So leaving home at an earlier age too. So that's definitely an interesting degree to have your vertex at. Going back to the rising, because I know I just jumped all over the place. Part of having a Pisces Mercury is not only not being able to pronounce things consistently, it's kind of like having a fluid river of information running through your brain at all times. And it's fun. It's a fun one. My Mercury is also square my chart ruler, which is the moon in Gemini. So it is a blast up here. So thank you for following along with me in my own magical way of speaking and doing things. Maybe I'll have some sangria. Yeah, there we go. That was delicious. Like, I don't drink that much, but like when I do drink, I like things to be delicious and easy to drink. And this is 100%. Let's see where we are going with the rising. Okay. So something I thought was really cool is that maybe, people don't really realize how much performers Geminis are, right? So this next scene where we had just seen her talking about taking the bus, right? Not having to drive for Gemini rising is like they can be a passenger princess life. Like they later in life do not want to drive. At an early age, they're like, give me my car, give me my freedom, give me everything. But then the older they get in life, especially like people with Sagittarius placements, they prefer to be driven around. People with a lot of fire energy would like to get places as efficiently and quickly as possible. So that usually means driving themselves. But I really loved how she's into like public transit, taking the bus. Okay, my camera just stopped. This is more Mercury retrograde. Hi guys, there's my one camera. And we're back. That was a horrible angle. So I have to remember that I am on an iMac now. And so my computer will randomly do like FaceTime little like gestures. So it will freeze up my streaming platform. This isn't that bad of a Mercury retrograde start, guys. We're doing pretty well. I'm proud of me. Gemini 9 degrees, which is that rising sign, that is a Sagittarius degree of Gemini. So the 9 degrees, 9 is a Sagittarius degree because 9 is the ninth house. Sagittarius is in the ninth house. And not in this. I did it again. I have the most difficult time not talking with my hands. I'm keeping my hands down. We're doing everything else with my hands besides moving them around. I'm now going back to my media training days. 9 degrees Gemini is also represented in the Sabian symbols, interestingly enough, as very much like the archer. So it is a medieval archer, stands with the ease of one wholly sure of himself, bow in hand, his quiver filled with arrows. So this is a degree of someone that is a sharp shooter, right? Somebody that has a lot of directness, somebody that is very piercing, so to speak. So that is the karmic degree of this rising sign. And we see, I think that is very much a piercing gaze. If you really give the chance to look at Sonja's face, you can see like the very mercurialness of her face. It's just like, it's so perfect. They always look sharp. They always look curious, and they always look like up to mischief. And I think that's very much something that my mom has too. And I love that about her. So that is the karmic degree of Sonja's rising. And then we're going to look at Sonja's kind of like truth degree. So we're going to see the truth degree, which can be a little bit scary. So please don't take this as literally. Gemini 10 degrees is represented as an airplane dives toward the earth as though falling. With anything in the sapient symbols and in astrology and all the things that we look at as astrologers, there's going to be multiple sides to everything. So this degree is prominent in a couple people's charts that have died in plane crashes. So you never want to be like, oh, this is nothing. But it's like very much a risk-taking and daring degree more than anything else. This is a degree of being bold and fearless, and that's kind of the time, like this degree shows up, just for reference, this degree shows up in John F. Kennedy Jr.'s chart as his MC, and this degree shows up in Amelia Earhart's chart as well, as near one of her placements. So it's just interesting that you can see that, and so I like to research all kind of walks of life. But both of those people, Amelia Earhart and JFK Jr., were incredibly courageous and bold, risk-taking people. One making world history, the other, you know, dominating all sorts of landscapes different than his family's traditional politics. So the exciting part of this is the solution degree to her rising is going to be newly open lands offer the pioneer new opportunities for experience. So it is kind of in her chart to be a little bit nomadic and a little bit pioneering and a little bit trailblazing. So I thought that was really cool. I do want to say that one of the strongest aspects in her chart is looking at this grand cross, right? We've got Chiron and Pisces up there in the 10th house. We've got Vesta, and that, I'm sorry, that's at 10 degrees Pisces. We got Vesta at 10 degrees Sagittarius. We've got Uranus at 9 degrees Virgo, and then we have her rising at 9 degrees Gemini. So that is a very powerful kind of energy, and I know having like the ascendant in there, some wouldn't call it that. Some would call it a T-square with Uranus and Chiron and Vesta, as well as like Mercury, just because that is pretty close in there. There's a lot of planets all closely together. Those are sometimes known as stelliums. Some people call them clusters. Stelliums usually are 3 or more. So when you look into people's charts, everybody has different ways of terminology and saying things. So I'm excited to share my process with you guys, and I think there's a lot of really cool points in her chart to those just dive into and that you guys will relate to. So the next one that I kind of want to share with this video clip is her just being herself and magical. So let's go back to that and enjoy some more Sonja magic.
I'm a girl that likes to wear pearls. And I like my guys in ties. Now, I don't have a problem showing the skin. Whoops.
Wardrobe malfunction.
I saw nothing. At work backstage. Can I get some drums? Can I get a little
Oh, God, I mean, I'm butchering.
I know you guys will be making those passes.
Yeah.
But a woman cannot find herself in a pickle.
That's what menopause looks like.
And then you want to make me your daddy. Oh.
I'm helping amputees every...
Before we get to Aviva, I want to pull up just the performer in this chart. Like, look at everything. That 2 degrees Sagittarius is actually trining one of my favorite degrees for finding comedic talent in someone's chart, and it is 2 degrees Aries. 2 degrees Aries is known as a comedian entertaining a group of friends, and that being exactly trine her sun is just so perfect to see her cut loose and have fun. And her son's sapient symbol, let's pull that up. The exact, aka karmic degree, is the ocean covered with white caps. This is very beautiful, but it's like all is maybe tumultuous up on the surface and maybe showing some white caps, but like under the surface is where the real like craziness is coming. And so when you have Sagittarius placements, especially in the 7th house, having a 7th house ruled by Jupiter and Jupiter in the 11th house retrograde there, you are going to have some haters, you know? And in that clip alone, we saw some haters and some people that didn't like that shine. So definitely interesting. Going into Sonja's truth degree to her sun. It's one of my favorite degrees of Sagittarius because I like really loved it and I studied it for a while because one of my close friends and astrology fans is the same degree sun. She's a 3-degree sun, so she's just 1 degree off of this one. So we're looking at the two men playing chess, and it's such a brainiac business minded placement that I think some people think that Sagittarius energy, yeah, it's big, it's boisterous, it's all over the place. It can be known for being chaotic. It can be known for being worldly, globally, all over the place too. Like they're never just in one place, right? Like they're all over. And Sagittarius energy needs to travel, but it more importantly needs to feel recognized and welcomed in a lot of places. And they go where they feel welcome. They go where the party is. So if they're not feeling a place, they move. If they're not feeling a vibe, they leave. It's kind of the energy. But with 3-degree Sagittarius being, or 3 degrees Sagittarius being the truth of Sonja's sun, I think it's really cool because it's like it shows a really sharp legal mind. It also shows legal battles being a huge theme. And since that was such a huge theme of her life on and off with real estate things as well as divorce, that can be something that really can play into like, it can be stressful because you know how to play the game and you know how to play it so well, but the game might not always work in your favor. So that can be one stressor of that. And then you go into what is known as, like I said, the solution degree or the quest degree, as Linda Hill calls it. Linda Hill is the current modern mother of these Sabian symbols. 4 degrees Sagittarius is a little child learning to walk with the encouragement of parents. So knowing that the solution part of her sun is to kind of express herself through being a parent and being a mother and having that like encouraging parenting time, that's really beautiful because you can kind of grow into that. And that also might indicate that there was like a loving relationship at some point between her father and herself, just because the sun does also represent the father in some people's interpretations. So that being said, I really love seeing how much mutableness, like we talked about. And then we go into her chart ruler, right? Sonja Morgan has a Sagittarius Mercury ruling her Gemini rising chart. Like, oh boy. You know, you see Sagittarius energy being so powerful when you talk about teachers and wisdom, and it is the great teacher. They're also at the same time simultaneously the student, especially when you have Gemini placements. So going into her chart ruler, we are going to look at the Sagittarius. Let's just go to this version, so where you don't have the video covering, you can kind of see it better. We have the Sagittarius Mercury at 14 degrees. So even if you don't know astrology or are having a hard time following along, but really love Real Housewives and want to know more about this, 1, I appreciate you. 2, go to where 3 o'clock traditionally would be on a clock. Some people, if you want to get into deep layers of things, would tell you that the astrological wheel is just a giant clock and a giant timing of your personal timing. And I think it's really cool to think of it that way. Like I said, a compass, a clock, all these things are the same. So right around 3 o'clock, you see that 14, that number 14 with the degree sign next to it. So that's 14 degrees. And then to the right is the Mercury glyph. So you can see Mercury and Sagittarius right there in the 7th house of often, sometimes many haters. 14 degrees Sagittarius is represented in the Sabian symbols by a vast panorama of sand and time is unfolding. The pyramids and sphinx in their glory rise before the eye. That's incredible. That is the karmic energy of this Mercury placement. The truth to this Mercury placement is the groundhog looking for its shadow on Groundhog Day. That is 15 degrees Sagittarius. That is a little bit more, what I would say, not insecure, but people that are like, they're stars, right? And these people are used to others watching them. So it's like almost like this has been in the stars to kind of be in the spotlight and really being that grand performer that we just saw in that video clip. The downside of this is kind of like, I'd say, not being able to act or not being able to move forward without having to see signs or needing messages from the universe, like not being able to just like instinctively act. So that is the kind of truth degree of this placement and this degree for her Mercury. But then we see the solution degree as Sagittarius 16 degrees. And that is represented by seagulls fly around a ship looking for food. So we see a lot of looking around to feed your young, providing nourishment, situations of dependence or codependence. So being in the seventh house, the seventh house is representative or representing marriage and long-term partnerships, close friendships, close partnerships, business partnerships, and just like friendships that kind of feel almost like family. This can be a very murky area because you have a lot of blind spots to other people sometimes. Here with Vesta on the Descendant, it's almost like this energy where trying to be the greatest hostess of all time. And I think through the years, you can see that there's just so much of Sonja's life where she is dedicated to having a household running in tip-top shape, having all the right smells of air fresheners or scents, and then all the right accoutrements of the household and having everything in its place. And, it's hard. It's hard to do that. And that is something that being born with Vesta on your Descendant, it can kind of feel like you're nurturing everyone else, but maybe not yourself. And so later on in life, I feel like you kind of move into that seventh house energy. So it's like hopefully nourishing herself, especially when it comes to matters of spirituality and esoteric wisdom and knowledge and really finding herself. I feel like this is something that with Mercury retrograde going on right now, very, very close to her Mars, started at her Mars. I can pull up a transit chart here in a second. We can kind of see the energy going on, but without needing to pull up too much, I know that there's plenty of things going on for mutable placements with not only Saturn in Pisces, but also Neptune in Pisces at the ending degrees. So that is all very much squaring her Sagittarius stellium. So I think that looking for opportunities for oneself is also what this degree is about. So always staying on the lookout for opportunities to nourish yourself and also nourish your image, how you relay yourself to others and how you relate to others. Looking at aspects to that Mercury, we see Chiron squaring that as well as Pluto squaring that. So it's in a T square, a loose grand cross with the ascendant as well. But that T square is loud, very, very loud. And that's also including Vesta. So at sometimes healing through nurturing others is the price you have to pay, the things that you have to kind of go through, taking care of others, possibly even lovers with that fifth house Pluto. Transformation through lovers, and then also marriage, like that seventh house Mercury, Mars, Venus, and Vesta really indicates a prominent marriage of some sort. What I find really interesting, because I don't want to spend too much time breaking down any like personal things going on. I want to talk about like super fun and like outgoing stuff. When you get into Pisces and late degree Sagittarius placements, there are a lot of ways that you can interpret them, right? I am not going to be pulling up any trauma. I am not going to be pulling up childhood memories. I'm not going to be, airing out anyone's placements, right? I'm here to share the magic within. If you missed that part of the segment at the beginning, now you know. So welcome in. If you also missed it at the beginning, I am drinking this delicious Sonja Sangria. Sonja Morgan is a brand genius. I love her, and I always have, and I will defend her and her marketing till the end of time, mostly because seeing her chart, it's like incredible businesswoman energy here, right? Like Romy and Michelle, businesswoman special. Yeah, we can all like businesswoman special, but like this is really like an acute and powerful human being. So I feel like the more that is cleared up and less like dead weight or baggage going into this new year, the more magic that will be happening. So let's look a little bit more. We can just see if there's any more moments in here. There are some pretty funny ones, and then we'll probably just jump to transits.
Yes. Oh God, my tooth fell out again.
Oh no.
It's awful. It's the polydentate.
Did you want to go upstairs?
Look at this.
Go upstairs. Oh, shoot.
It's as a post, you know. I just have to polydent.
It's a temporary,
I'm
right?
too young to be polydenting. My tooth fell out again. Oh, as soon as I put this back in, I want some of that. Is there enough left? Yeah. Okay.
Wait, blueberry?
Yeah, Fix-A-Dent.
Is that better than polydent? Fix-A-Dent's better?
Yes.
It's very hard to get it back in. It's not
I
easy.
can do it if you get me Fix-A-Dent.
There's not a chapter in my book, Class with the Countess, about losing a tooth. I guess I'll have to add an addendum.
I only have polydent. I'm gonna work with the polydent for now.
Leave the denture adhesive talk at home.
I'm just glad it happened with Aviva, because if that happened to somebody else, I'm gonna be horrified. You know what I mean? But Aviva's like, oh, happens all the time kind of thing. If anyone's gonna understand you losing a body part, it's gonna have to be Aviva. What are you doing?
Well, I'm free now. What do you want to do?
All right. That was absolutely brilliant. I just have to say, like, the amount of humor that Sagittarius placements exude is next level. So if you guys have been curious about where that could come in from, I'd like to say that it's pretty cool to see Sagittarius placements be known for their incredible humor, but that's also coming from Gemini as well with that Gemini rising. So the wit is loud. You can hear it. I'm going to go ahead and pull up current transits going on because I am #1 live editor, you guys. That's what I love about this show, is that I can do all sorts of live editing and share these things. I got a new software over the last month, this new machine I'm using, an iMac. I've never used Mac outside of like journalism classes. So this is really fun to kind of do. I can do so much with the software. So I have a lot of things to cover. So I am going to try and get through it. I promised my family, I'm like, no, I'm going to be done in like an hour. I don't have the steam to do that long. And then here I am. So, all right, we've got this lovely chart and its current transit. So as you can see, we've got the moon in Scorpio at this very moment. I did put Palm Beach, Florida in the location. Mercury retrograde on that 22 degrees Sagittarius Mars. I want to talk about this 22 degrees of Sagittarius because it is one of the most poignant degrees in a person's chart. I have been batting whatever it is that would be perfect with my breakdowns of this degree showing up in people's chart. Pretty embarrassing that I used to be in sports media and can't even tell you. Batting 1,000, I guess. There we go. Thank you. Somebody help. But we are looking at the current transits, and whenever I see 22 degrees Sagittarius, I know that foreign lands, foreign people, and foreign everything, culture, is a big theme in this person's life. And so I am seeing around Mercury retrograde around Mars at 22 degrees Sagittarius. I feel like this is starting the energy that I'm seeing as what I would like to say a new and budding romance that I am going to predict for Sonja Morgan, because I feel like there is one coming, and I will show you guys all that with my later slides. So buckle up, I guess. I am going to be long-winded. This is my way of telling everyone it might take me a little bit longer to get through this, but I'm going to do my best. Looking at that transit, Mercury conjunct Mars, this is Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius is a great time to make sure all your travel plans are lined up. And I know that tomorrow is American Thanksgiving, so this might be a little bit late to tell you guys. Just be careful, be slow, and a lot of energy with this degree. The kill or be killed degree of any zodiac sign is 22 degrees. So that is a Capricorn ruled degree. It is very cutthroat. It can be a little bit much. There could be a lot of fights going on with Mercury retrograde at 22 degrees. So who knows? Keep your hands to yourself if you're flying. But for Sonja, it looks more like we are seeing a possible revisit of maybe anger issues, but mostly I feel like passion, zest, drive for life. Where is that coming from? With Mars conjunct Venus in her 7th house, other people are very important to her life. And, relationships can be very hot and cold, very aggressive, very like fly by night. You never know what they really possess. But with Mars natally square her moon at 22 degrees Pisces, I really think that there is an emotional revisiting, or kind of like, what am I doing? Where am I at? Kind of like not rebranding kind of going on, but like very much like I have the world at my feet. How do I want to use this? And I say that because with transits involving Saturn, especially conjunct Chiron there, and her Chiron in the 10th house, Saturn conjunct Chiron can be a lot of revisiting of past lessons from, 29 years ago-ish, with Saturn being involved, 29-year cycles, or 28. You could divide it by 7, the 7-year Saturn cycles. Chiron is usually represented by a degree that has some sort of connection to the age when maybe a great wound or a great gift appeared in life. So that's something to look for. And at 10, that's probably a childhood thing. So obviously I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to continue moving forward the magic of what's going on here. Seeing MC in Aquarius, that is at the degree, I believe, of a barometer. I know this as like the weatherman degree. I've been studying it a little bit and being like, I feel like people that are into weather have placements here. And then lo and behold, I did a weather woman's chart and she had a degree at a barometer. So I'm like, that's cool. So an MC, your midheaven at 13 degrees Aquarius, represented by a barometer. Weather is like, weather pressure systems can kind of be indicators of a lot to Sonja. So I don't know if that's something that is, something that she connects with weather. I'm not sure. She could be a secret weather storm chaser. The truth degree to this MC is 14 degrees Aquarius, which is a train entering a tunnel. This is very much about, it is public transportation, which is kind of funny that we talked about that, but it's also like taking the most direct route someplace, and, also being aware of the things ahead and having somebody like helping conduct the whole thing. But the MSc degree that I wanted to talk about is the solution degree to Sonja's MC. And it is 2 lovebirds sitting on a fence and singing happily. So I know that there's going to be big love in her life, right? And with Pluto in Aquarius for the foreseeable future and transitioning across that MC, I believe that there's going to be a big shift in career and public image, in legacy. So the closer that Pluto gets to Sonja's Saturn in Aquarius at that 17 degrees conjunct her part of fortune, I believe is going to be a radical transformation, and like we're going to see a rebirth. And I'm super excited for it because Aquarius energy is so radical and needed right now. If you have Aquarius placements, please, please, please continue being as loudly and authentically yourself. You know, Sonja just went through her second Saturn return. So that was when Saturn was in Aquarius. So coming off of that, and Saturn going to be sextiling her Saturn when it gets into Aries this coming year will be interesting. But current transits, you know, one that is going to be continuing to kind of be confusing and, you know, everything is going to be that Jupiter retrograde in the first house. As someone with Gemini in my 12th house, it's been like, am I the clown show or is everyone else the clown show? What's happening here? It can be a lot. So I'm looking forward to Jupiter in the first house. I know retrograde right now, it's kind of a taking stock of what you have done, seeing blind spots that you may have had. And that can be short term. I'm going to put my hands down. I don't want to freeze my camera again. I live in fear of disappointing my technology. That's very much Aquarius energy too. We have Mars and Leo in that third house. So if anything, slow down driving if there is any driving going on. Make sure all cars have oil changes and everything, because that is also trining Sonja's sun. So that could be physically, just be aware. And operating from the heart with communication, I feel like it's pretty easy for Sagittarius, is because especially Gemini rising, wearing that heart on their sleeve is very much a thing. When your sun is opposing your rising, it can be like a dual personality on top of Gemini's already dual personalities. Seeing the South Node transit White Moon Lilith in the 5th house, that can feel very restrictive for lovers, right? So I feel as though the South Node might be giving Sonja a lot more pain than needed right now with lovers or hobbies or creativity, you know. That can feel very much like your emotional core is being drained by your past, or you are paying for past mistakes somehow, and it's like costing you your sense of like childlike joy. Finding that through, you know, healing those wounds, of course. With that South Node and North Node transiting her 5th and 11th house, we do see the North Node loosely conjunct her Jupiter retrograde, right? So the South Node opposing Jupiter retrograde can kind of feel like karmic balancing acts of sorts. But I do want to talk about when the North Node shifts into Pisces and the South Node is in Virgo. We will see a lot more transformation, and it might be uncomfortable at certain times, especially when the South Node in Virgo crosses over Pluto and Uranus. There could be another move, but it could be for love. Okay. So like if there is another move involved, because I know that the townhouse has been sold in New York City, so it's kind of an end of an era. There's been a lot of, I feel like, changes in life, you know. People are finding where they're meant to be. People are finding their people right now. This is a time where people are kind of like settling in from the year that they've had and looking forward to the next year, because January 1st is going to be a very pivotal time for the collective in general, just because the North Node and South Node will be at 0 degrees Aries and 0 degrees Libra. That is known as the 0 point and like the start over point. So I'm going to pull up January 1st transits and save that, because like I said, #1 live editor. Just because I want to show that there are a lot of things to look forward to, even though things have been like possibly uncomfortable, because I can definitely see how that is a thing. So I am going to, once again, #1 live editor and add in this one. And so you guys can see the transits too, because it's not just Sonja that's going to be experiencing this. Everyone will be. And that 0 point in Aquarius or in Aries and Libra can be really, really powerful for your chart. So I'll go over that real quick. Okay, so January 1st, we see the North Node at 0 degrees Aries, and that is in between Jupiter retrograde and Sonja's moon at 22 degrees Pisces. So that's really cool. That is a fresh start in networks, community, friendships, social circles. That is trying her 6th house Sagittarius sun, which is beautiful. And then you see the South Node loosening up on White Moon and kind of shifting into, all right, we're going towards Pluto. And that, once again, is going to be that maybe possibly uncomfortable at times, but that radical unearthing of self and maybe that true childlike joy in the physical form, just because Virgo does represent the physical body and also femininity, like that divine feminine Demeter energy that we've talked about in my magazine. In case you guys don't know, I also have a magazine called The Northern that is a free magazine that takes you through a seasonal journey of astrology, purpose, and wisdom. It's nature, purpose, and wisdom on the title, so you can see a lot of things through the astrological lens. I also have people from all different backgrounds and practices, spiritual-wise. So I'm really looking forward to the next issue, which will come out winter solstice. So northernastrology.com. Check it out, and I can't wait to have you on board. So going into the Chiron transit in the 11th house, Chiron is going to be stationed direct at that time. So I feel like with Mercury direct, Chiron direct, both trining each other, and then having that Mars and Leo in the 3rd house, there's definitely something brewing, right? So that's cool. Something's brewing. Excited about that. Very, very neat. Where are the transits again? Oh yeah, I deleted that. So we're done looking at those transits. There's the birth chart. Going into March, I'm super excited about this one. You guys, I'm going to take a quick Sangria moment to myself. Sonja Sangria, in case you guys missed it. Just Google it. You'll find it. You can't miss it. SonjaMorganOfficial.com is also a website to get all things Sonja. Yeah, I'm going to let you guys look at this chart. I'll be here, but you guys can look at it yourselves real quick. And I guess I needed time to fix my hair. So there's that. So this is the solar eclipse happening in March on March 29th. This is going to be very powerful. I look forward to the Aries eclipses because they bring, yes, a lot of aggression and a lot of powerful, swift, action-driven movements. You know, you cannot stop an Aries once they are in motion. So good luck stopping an Aries solar eclipse, right? The sun is exalted in Aries, and then having a solar eclipse, you're like, all right, here we go. So new moons ruled by Mars are usually profound, deep changes on a level that you might not be comfortable with at first. This solar eclipse is ruled by Mars, and Mars is going to be at 22 degrees Cancer, the kill or be killed degree of Cancer. This is also going to be exactly square Chiron. But I want to talk about this because I believe for Sonja, this is a really magical moment, okay? So when you see Jupiter transits, Jupiter is known as like a life giver, a really big indicator of luck, fortune, and so on in astrology, right? So Jupiter transits can be interpreted all sorts of ways. Jupiter in the 1st house is going to be different than Jupiter in the 5th house. Jupiter in the 6th house is going to be different than Jupiter in the 11th house. So having, once again, your birth time really does make a difference. So you can narrow down the area of life because, I'm putting my hands down. They're not going to get me. It's not going to happen this time. Jupiter is a place where you can have a lot of like blind faith in yourself, and you can get by with a lot of like charm and wit and I guess riz. If I say charisma, I will age myself. Totally part of Gen Z, you guys. But Jupiter retrograde can bring a twist of later in life blessings, especially in the 10th house. You know, I have Jupiter, or excuse me, in the 11th house. I have Jupiter in the 10th house. I thought I had Jupiter in the 11th house. So it's like, yeah, social and everything's fun. And then it's like, no, you actually have Jupiter in the 10th house. And it's way more about duty, responsibility, and service to father figures and authority. And it's fun. So seeing Jupiter in the 11th house, station retrograde in Aries, that let's look up that degree because that's really fun. Because I love giving you guys the descriptions because I feel like if Linda Hill is able to sign books, and you can get them at sabiansymbols.com and they come directly for her. This degree is represented 9 degrees Aries is the karmic degree of this placement and also this new moon eclipse. So you guys are learning about a transit happening March 29th, right before Neptune goes into Aries for the first time since the Civil War. But that's another story. This degree, Aries 9 degrees, is represented by a seer gazes intensely into a crystal ball before him. So this is very much about working with other realms, working with people that are comfortable with other realms. And it's also with Jupiter retrograde here, and especially in the 11th house, it's also not getting got by these people that parade as psychics and mediums, but just simply are using different methods to pull things out of thin air. You know, true psychics and mediums have a lot of boundaries and a lot of things that they follow and practices that keep them safe energetically and to not pass things on. So be discerning. You know, when I did a chart report and emailed it to Sonia, I was like, hey, there's a huge chance that a lot of people are going to be like, wow, you're really mystically connected and your energy is like fun to read. So just be careful, use discernment, you know, and that goes with everyone. So the karmic degree is that using discernment and also tapping into other worlds. So it's a very psychic degree, especially with Aries ruling the head. So Aries placements are psychic once they kind of like, you know, lower the nuclear weapons in their head. Aries 10 degrees, which is the truth degree of this solar eclipse, as well as Sonia's Jupiter retrograde in the 11th house. It is represented by a teacher gives new symbolic forms to traditional images. This one is like the transformation and almost like an interior design type of degree. It's like people who can take old and maybe worn out things and make them look fresh and new again, or people who can like transform the spaces around them and use like new kind of methods. There's also the degree of dogma and hearsay, so be careful. And heresy and also hearsay. There's both of them in there. I'm not just like mispronouncing things. The solution degree to this placement, though, is the president of the republic or the ruler of one's country. Okay, so this is very much about autonomy, right? And it's about, yeah, there's always going to be somebody, quote unquote, in charge, but it's also you possibly needing to take charge and take over command or the command center of your own life and trajectory. So it's like in the 11th house, I feel like this could be something that is bringing a new person, possibly even an Aries, into Sonia's life. And there is so much with not only, I mean, let's look at the square. First of all, we can't ignore the fact that Venus and Mars and Mercury, all in the 7th house of partnerships, are going to be square Saturn, the North Node, Venus, and Neptune, right? All in Pisces. And then you also see just right there, kind of making it fun too, is Jupiter in Gemini. Also, making sextile to Sonia's natal Jupiter. It's a loose one, but it's still there. And that's opposing her seventh house placements as well. So it's almost like a gift in the form of a person or something is starting around this time. Maybe there's an introduction, maybe there's a new meeting or a fresh meeting. I just like to see that this is like a powerful energy for her and like a time that she could really meet somebody that's like life changing. So throwing it out there because why not, right? I like to throw out the positivity. When your moon is visited by Saturn, it can be a very emotionally frustrating time. It cannot always feel right. There are also times the older you get, the more Saturn will not ease up on you, but the more that Saturn supports you. And Saturn wants to push you to these lessons and see, like, have you grown? Have you really learned it? Have you really broken the cycle? Have you really broken the loop? So when it comes to Saturn visiting the moon, as well as the nodes and Venus retrograde, that's why also maybe it's a lover from the past. Maybe it's someone foreign that is an artist that loves American women, because I think part of my notes that I put up here was like, let me pull them up because I know that her chart was speaking to me from a myriad of places. The number one was, here it is. Dreams to be married to a non-cheater. 7th house wounds, 7th house ruled by Jupiter, and Aries Jupiter in the 11th house, 9 degrees. March 29th, 2025 is big. Solar eclipse exactor Jupiter. Possibly meeting somebody then. Also Venus retrograde at 10 degrees Aries and Mercury retrograde at 9 degrees Aries. Mercury is going to be retrograde. I don't think that I was looking at that chart when I made those suggestions, but when like you think about foreign men that love American women, they love their sense of boldness, courageousness, authenticity. You know, Sonja is like known for being naked in a lot of the shows and just, you know, living it up. I love a good Pisces moon because they can be very, very free with themselves. And 22 degrees Pisces is a powerful degree. So I do want to talk about that real quick, just because, you know, whenever it's eclipse season, your natal moon placement definitely gets hella activated. And especially because she has her north node ruled by the moon. And the north node is what you kind of grow into, is like your destiny point. So before I jump into the north node, I do want to talk about her moon at 22 degrees Pisces. So 22 degrees Pisces, the karmic degree is that 22. The exact degree of the placement is known as the karmic degree. It is represented in the Sapien symbols by a prophet bringing down the new law from the mountain, which is awesome. It's very much about like revelations and being yourself, marching to the beat of your own drum, thoughts, guidelines, laying down the law. It can also represent a lot of like religion or organized religion early in one's life, just because it's very much like Moses coded. But then we go to the truth degree of Sonja's moon, and it is a materializing medium giving a seance. So psychics and also psychic energy herself are very, very big in her life. Like psychic abilities, like when Pisces moons are accused of being flighty or all over the place, it's like if you knew the conversations with other realms and other God only knows what that Pisces placements are able to communicate with, they're like, you know, very much like fairy-like beings. And when you have Pisces placements, your energy is much like Tinkerbell, and it's not going to be always the deep, dark, broody side of Pisces. It can also be the fun-loving, you know, joyful and playful side of Pisces, which is when they're in their flow and they feel secure and they're with their people. And especially with Pisces being so loud in that 11th house and Jupiter ruling over her natal 11th house. Like you go to Jupiter being in that 11th house and also ruling over the 11th house. It's like no longer have a manager, cannot be managed energy. So 23 degrees Pisces is that solution degree, or excuse me, that truth degree to her moon. Then we get to the solution degree. And this solution degree is something that I think that everyone can learn from. So Saturn is conjunct this degree on March 29th exactly, And this is the solution degree for Sonja's, for her moon. Excuse me. I was going to say sun, and I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. This is representing the Sabian symbols, 24 degrees Pisces. The tiny island seems lost in the broad ocean, but its happy inhabitants have created a world all their own. We are going to experience as a collective a very powerful transition in late March 2025. I am very excited to announce we have an astrology of 2025 workbook, planner, ebook, all sorts of things. We're going to have myriad of options to choose from, how you get your astrology of 2025 information. But myself, Jamal, Alessia, and Amanda, if you don't know them yet, you will, are all pulling together this amazing amount of information to help guide you through 2025. We will be releasing it on January 1st, 2025. And it's kind of a guided walkthrough how to survive, because you know what? It's not scary. It's deeply spiritual, and it can be a deeply radical experience to be a part of history making times. That's why we are all here on this earth, is to go through this collective awakening of sorts. And it's not anything you have to prepare for. You don't have to buy a generator or, start stocking up on a lot of things and freak out your family. You can just simply prepare emotionally and mentally and spiritually, and note that the universe has you in every other way. There's nothing you need to do when it comes to astrology besides exist, and exist openly, freely, and fully in yourself as much as possible. So when we see these like radical moments in time where Neptune is shifting into Aries for the first time since the Civil War, like I talked about, and Saturn is going to be meeting Neptune there, and Saturn in Aries has brought a lot of protests, violence, and movements through the years. So there's just so much to know that it's like a baptism by fire coming the end of March. But I feel as though for Sonja, we're going to be seeing a possible new spark of a past lover, a former admirer, something where a foreigner could come in, or, she's on a trip somewhere foreign and this person pops up. Another thing that I wanted to cover, just because talking about love, everyone wants to talk about love. Like, if you're single, you want to know, when am I going to fall in love? If you're in love, you want to know, is this going to last? And if you're not in love and you don't really care about finding someone, you're like, when will I meet somebody so everyone eventually leaves me alone? How will I meet them? Or I don't want to meet anyone. And how can I avoid people? I'm going to put my hands down again. There we go. I love that this computer is super sensitive, but I definitely don't want to freeze the camera any more than I already have. Mercury retrograde, and we haven't had a huge problem though. We've had some interruptions with Christmas music the day before American Thanksgiving here in the States. We've had some cameras freezing because I can't keep my hands down because I'm a Gemini Moon. I talk with my hands. Not Italian, not a drop of Italian in me. But there's definitely like some hand movements, and I feel like Gemini placements understand this. So this is a really cool chart to look at. There's a lot of hope there. There's also a lot of like free will with all of this. So take it for what it will. But having so much Pisces energy when we're having two major generational shifts with Neptune and Aries, and then Saturn joining Neptune and Aries later. It's going to be a fun 2025, I promise. Take a second, look at this chart, take in the date, look it up in your own chart. Take a minute. I'm going to have a Sangria smoke break. I'll be right here, and I'll be right back to join you. All right. So this is August 11th, 2025. Not the exact time of the conjunction between Jupiter and Venus in Cancer, but pretty damn close. So what we are looking at here is what some people on, I guess, the astrology community and Twitter have been randomly tweeting August 11th, 2025. And I feel like it could be the astrological lovey-dovey version of a revolution of sorts. And how we see this showing up in this chart here is right with, excuse me, I guess I poured sangria and it just started bubbling very loudly. This stuff is very carbonated and delicious, so please, please buy it. I have had the white version of it. It's the white grape version of it, I believe. And it's delicious. So this red one is equally delicious and I'm super here for it. But Sonja Morgan's second house is ruled by the moon, right? So we are right in, if you're following in the inner wheel where the 1 and 2, you see the 2, and then there's a horseshoe right down in that house. So you're looking at the horseshoe in the 11 that is red on that inner circle. Sorry, I'll put my hands down, but I will continue to explain things as basic and elementary as I can because I know there's varying levels of astrology enthusiasts watching this, and I don't want to be exclusive and be like, sorry, you just don't get it. Like, you just won't. I think astrology should be accessible as much as having birth charts in hospitals. So I am all for everyone learning their astrology. Looking at 13 degrees Cancer, this is going to be a big and powerful transit for anyone. So everyone that has a birth chart, so anyone that's alive, including every brand, every pet, everything that's ever been created, excuse me, all of you are having this experience somewhere in your chart. So the best thing to do is get onto astroseek.com, look up AstroSeek on Google, and it'll take you to find your natal chart, and then it'll kind of break down some more things. You know, you can find your own preferred software, but please stop using CoStar. You don't have empty houses. The world is not ending every time there's a transit to a personal planet like they try to make it seem to be. And also, CoStar likes to steal from me. They like to steal my astrology without the bullshit slogan that I've been using for years. It's fine. The 13th degree of Cancer, which is an Aries ruled degree, the degree theory method, if you guys are not familiar, is available in my Astrology 101 book at northernastrology.com if you're interested. 13 degrees Cancer is a hand which is held out receptively, is remarkable for the suggestion of character in its prominent thumb. So this is very much about having a strong handshake. So I don't know if you guys are going to meet somebody with a strong handshake, if someone's going to come into your life and give you a strong handshake, or if you're just going to meet a really strong person, or you finally grasp what has been needed in your life. That is what the 13th degree of Cancer is about. So in the second house for Sonja, I feel like this could be very much a material and possession type of reevaluation, the things that are actually meaningful to her, reevaluating business relationships with that strong handshake. This can also be like being defensive and insecure at its like low points. So try not to be too defensive or insecure. Looking at the Jupiter and Venus conjunction being ruled by the moon, we do have to look at the moon, and of course it's in Pisces. So happy lunar return on August 11th, way later in the day, to you, Sonja. I'm really excited because it's like this is going to be a really magical 2025 for you, and I can't wait to see how this resonates with you as well. Looking at this exact moment at 8 a.m. and 39 seconds in Palm Beach, Florida, the part of fortune is directly or some would call that exactly conjunct Saturn as well as Neptune at 1 degrees, both of those station retrograde, and that is loosely conjunct Jupiter retrograde in Sonja's 11th house. Sonja has a lot of activity here, having Saturn and Neptune trine her 6th house Sagittarius sun. So I feel like a transformation of health and wellness could be easily coming, of some sort of daily practice, maybe meditation, yoga, Pilates, something like that. And it's like not stressful, like not any of that like boot camp, like I gotta go be a bodybuilder, do CrossFit and like jump around and throw tires at people kind of shit, but like definitely like a fun workout, like something like a dance aerobic, like trampoline classes where you could just jump around and be chaotic. But yeah, that was definitely going to be interesting. Having, you know, what I would call the transformation coming with this Venus and Jupiter conjunction. It could be a transformation of physical resources, like I said, transformation of wealth, a transformation of finances. So looking to the 14 degree of Cancer, we're going to look for the truth of this conjunction. And it is a very old man facing a vast dark space to the northeast. So this is also representative of Washington, D.C., and having that politician ruled Jupiter, the solution degree to her Jupiter is that politician, ruler of one's republic. Maybe she meets a politician of some sort. I don't know, like a person in power. Cancer 15 degrees is the solution degree for this conjunction of Venus and Jupiter in Cancer. And it is a group of people who have overeaten and enjoyed it. So this August 11th, I know it's a Monday. That's also ruled by the moon, which will also be in Pisces. It's going to be emotionally driven. But August 11th, if you can have a Monday night dinner party or a Monday night gathering or a Monday during the day, have a lunch with friends and really indulge and have a good time, but do so safely. Uber if you are drinking, and please just be responsible. You know, you can always overindulge, but do so like in moderation, if that makes sense. That's very American of me to say. You can overindulge, but do so in stages. It's very much a conjunction of abundance and finding that like dinner party energy within, or making yourself a special meal that day and really celebrating the milestones you've made. And with that being conjunct Sonja's North Node in Cancer at 11 degrees, I do want to talk about that because that is a clown is caricaturing well-known personalities. So it's very much a mockery degree. So it's like karmically someone that can like really imitate others well. And she's really great at that. So it's kind of interesting. Cancer 12 degrees is a Chinese woman nursing a baby whose aura reveals him to be the reincarnation of a great teacher. This could also be a degree where Sonja realized that her own child could have been like a former family member in another life, or their connection feels like they might have known each other in another life and could be very, very close. Or it's just like, you never know. It's a degree of messages of hope, and connecting with people that are younger than you is also another theme of this degree. And it's like seeing a child with unique gifts and really seeing them for what they are. And then the, of course, solution degree to her North Node is found at that 13 degrees Cancer, which is a hand which is held out receptively, is remarkable for the suggestion of character in its prominent thumb. So I have never shaken hands with Sonja Morgan, but I feel like it would be an experience. And I feel like her in general would be an experience, which is why I was so eager to profile her for this series. I do believe that she has a bountiful 2025 ahead. I hope to see possibly like a podcast or like a revisit to the toaster oven debacle of, you know, her legacy. I feel like there is such a future with that, that North Node there in the second house in Cancer. That's such a nurturing, at home, finding your coziness, like a big sign of doing good business and finding the value in yourself. And, you know, when it's ruled by the moon, you've got to have some emotional stability and fortitude. And her moon is square Mars and Sagittarius exactly, and also square her Venus. Fortitude is Sonja's middle name, or it should be. You know, there is so much strength in that woman, and I wish her the best of luck. And I look forward to 2025 being a magical year for her. And really, from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to say thank you all for tuning in to a new series that I created during the middle. Well, we're launching it during the middle of Mercury retrograde. And I announced at the beginning of November, I have been kind of building the roster of housewives in the background, and I really look forward to the next one. So if you guys want to know the next housewife, I can go ahead and do a reveal. Think about all the Real Housewives and Capricorns and go. Okay, you've had enough time. I am going to be profiling next the one and only Emily Simpson of the Real Housewives of Orange County. A fellow Cancer rising, Emily has an incredible chart and even a different birth date than what's available on like Wikipedia pages. So I was like, oh, okay. So sometimes these aren't all exactly accurate. So I want to say thank you to Sonja for, Sonja, excuse me. I'm so sorry. Sonja has been one of those people that has been like a beacon of you can always change where you're going, like the Welcome to Crappy Lake. Like that series was hilarious. Luann is definitely a force to be reckoned with. I look forward to profiling her as well. These women have so much to teach us. These women have so much to share with us about life, and following these women when they started out their journey in the Real Housewives of New York, following them on girls trips. And I haven't been to BravoCon or any of the cons of any sort when it comes to the Housewives, but I really look forward to just exploring where this series goes. And I couldn't think of a better person than somebody that's a Sagittarius stellium with a Gemini rising and a Pisces moon, and just the advantageous and courageous spirit that she possesses. And I'm just very lucky to have gotten to profile this magical woman. So once again, thank you. I am so glad to have been able to do this series and kick it off, even in the scary times of Mercury retrograde. Sonja Morgan is somebody that you can really look to set trends. And I look forward to seeing 2025 be trending upwards for her and possibly finding an artistic foreigner lover in the mix. I look forward to seeing the updates of that, and I cannot wait. Like, I really hope that it's like somebody that can set her world on fire. And if it's not a lover or a new love interest, I can definitely see him being like a new best friend or someone from maybe a different country that is visiting, or someone that she gets to know. And yeah, so I do have one last thing to share with you guys, and it's kind of cool if you want to see it. Not because I'm like, well, I don't know if it's like something you guys want to see. It's definitely something cool that I wanted to pull up, because astrocartography is something that I feel like is going to be making a huge, huge push when we get into Uranus and Gemini. So I feel like there's going to be a major push. So I wanted to pull up this map and make sure I actually have it sized properly so you guys can see it. This is with my new Astro Gold software. I'm going to make it to where you can see me talking about this a little bit. Not because I'm vain, just because I like to help out and point out things. So as you can see here, there are lines all over the place, right? And with her recent move to West Palm Beach and purchase of like a new place and like new energy down there, it's been in the headlines. So it's not like I'm revealing where she lives and like exposing that. You see Ceres descending line going to the right and the eastern side of Florida. And then you see Neptune descending line right there on the other side. In the Gulf side, Florida, the Panhandle area and all that. I think it's really cool to see astrocartography play out in a way that's like, oh, like I could see how these places would be really fun to go to. And Salt Lake City and Alaska were two places that really stuck out, that Sonja would have like an absolutely magical time. So it's Salt Lake City, Iceland, and Anchorage, Alaska were some places that can kind of stick out as places that could be places she meets new people or discovers people that are from there that she gets really close with this coming year. So stay tuned for all that. I'm really excited for everything that we've had going on with the astro climate and the weather right now. I think that some things that I'm really looking forward to coming up have to be eclipse season next year. Of course, we saw the solar eclipse preview with that 9 degrees Aries solar eclipse, but there's a lot to look forward to with changes. The North Node going into Pisces in January. I'm like Pisces North Node, that's me. Pisces Mercury, Pisces Ceres, and Pisces MC. So a lot of Pisces energy, and I look forward to sharing more of my magic with you guys in 2025. Like I said, I've got that amazing group project coming up. It's not a group project like we're all in school or something, but it's a collaboration between a lot of great astrologers that you might not have been familiar with their style, but you will be. You're going to benefit so much from it, and it's something that I'm looking forward to offering you guys, and I'm going to be weaving into a lot of the announcements I have coming up. So that'll be with Ninth House Publishing, my publishing company. And another thing that you have to look forward to coming up is that I will be back here on Friday for the Chiefs and Raiders game on Amazon Prime for you guys. Luckily, it's on local TV for us. So I'm not really prepared for covering the Chiefs on Netflix. I still don't think it's going to happen. But if you guys are not aware, I also do sports astrology. So that's what I'm talking about being back on Friday for. I cover the Kansas City Chiefs because I am a Kansas City Chief fan since birth. Born and raised in Kansas City. That's where I live. It's very central. I feel like it's fun to be able to be in the middle of the United States and kind of like be able to get anywhere, you know. It's very landlocked. So if you are looking for a grounding experience, come to Kansas City. There's so much to do here, and it's really just like budding. It's growing, and I love seeing it. You know, I have the Northern magazine coming out winter solstice with a lot of issues focusing on talented and magical astrologers as well as spiritualists and wizards of their own sort. And it's going to be fun to see where this kind of wraps up, because the Northern magazine for me has been a labor of absolute love. I've poured everything I have into it. It is a free magazine that's usually around 30 to 60 pages of astrological insight, as well as editorials from me, living with nature, how to work with moon phases, days of the week. Astrology is truly everywhere. And if you give it enough time, you could go and have like the days of your week completely radicalized and changed due to your birth chart. Like, I offer so many cool readings right now. But like I said at the beginning of the stream, I am redoing a lot of my website and rebranding completely for spring 2025. So you will see a lot of me. I will be back for Capricorn season with the one and only Emily Simpson of Real Housewives of Orange County and doing a profile on her. If you missed it already, Sonja Morgan has some sangria, everybody. Go and get some. It is delicious. I am not a big drinker, and it has been bubbly, fresh, and light without having any sort of like heavy aftertaste or anything like that. So it's delicious. It's a product of Italy. I'm not going to move my hands anymore because it'll freeze my camera. So once again, there's so many things coming up. Thank you so much for watching an astrological profile, the first of many of the Real Housewives and their astrology that we can learn so much through and so much from. So thank you again, ladies, for being fabulous and providing us with hours and hours of entertainment over the years. You have been magical, and as a big fan, as well as an admirer of courageous and outspoken women, we appreciate you. So, cheers to that. My name is Gracey with Northern Astrology, and I can't wait to come back here and have another live stream with you guys in just less than 48 hours. So I'll see you then, and I'll see you in Capricorn season for another astrological profile. Thank you and good night.